Hi, I'm Sally, and I'd like to welcome you to my second video series on Sage Intelligence Reporting. It's only been a few months since I completed my first series, where over 5 parts I shared my experience of getting up and running with the product and showed you how you can use some of the already provided reports to get a handle on the financial position of your business. Whether you're starting out or not, I suggest you go through the first series as it will provide a good grounding for the content in this one. You can get to it by going to youtube.com/user/Sage Intelligence, clicking on the playlists link, and then selecting the one for Sally's series. Now, through another 5 lessons, I want to take things to the next level, with the focus being on report creation. I'm going to look at the means that intelligence reporting provides for this and share some examples of what's possible. The main themes will include the Financial Report Designer, pivot table reports, and dashboards. In the first 3 videos, I'm going to showcase the primary features of the Report Designer, which are the Layout Generator and Task Pane. I'm going to create 2 layouts using each of these tools and then use them along with some of my existing ones to create a financial dashboard. In the last 2 videos, I'm going to cover another class of reports, which are pivot table reports. I'll discuss some of those that are provided out of the box, create one of my own to show you how it's done, and then use it as the basis for a simple operational dashboard. There's a lot to cover, so without any more delay, I'm going to jump right in. As the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm sure it can be said that a dashboard is worth 1,000 numbers. Visualizations are an intuitive way of summarizing considerable amounts of data in a way that makes it quick and easy to interpret. They also help highlight irregularities which would otherwise be difficult to see if just looking at an array of values. I've displayed my completed dashboard on screen to give you an idea of what we'll be working towards over the next 3 videos. Included are the financial indicators of gross profit margin, net profit margin, the current ratio, and quick ratio. I also have a chart that tracks my revenue, cost of sales, and gross profit during a given year, and at the end, I've added the cash flow chart that was part of my cash flow report in the first series. If you're not familiar with financial ratios, they provide a further means of evaluating the performance and position of your business. Although I'll describe the ones I've used in more detail when I create them, I won't be providing comprehensive information on the subject. There are many to choose from, and covering all of them would require a course of its own. So based on the time that we have, I want to give an introduction to them and show how you can include them in your layouts. If you'd like to know more about those available, you can find plenty of information online. The arguments for gross and net profit margin are taken from an income statement, and those for the current and quick ratios are derived from the balance sheet. I can use my existing current period income statement for the first 2. However, my balance sheet layouts don't provide the level of detail in terms of account classifications that I need for the last 2. I showed in the first series that my balance sheets are only broken down into assets, liabilities, and equity. As such, in this video, I'm going to build a new layout using the layout generator that will give me the level of detail I need. This isn't to provide you with a thorough understanding of the generator, but rather to highlight its capabilities. In the next video, I'm going to follow the same approach in creating the layout for my revenue, cost of sales, and gross profit chart using the task pane. If you would like more information on these tools, then take a look at the Intelligence Reporting Help File and YouTube playlist for your Sage product. I explained how to access these resources in the first series, and I suggest catching up on the 2 features before continuing. Let's get going with the first layout. To do so, I have run out a copy of the Financial Report Designer report from the Report Manager. I mentioned in the first series that my existing layouts have been created at an account category level. I can view my categories by dragging the corresponding list from the Lists tab in the Task pane into an empty worksheet. If I then drag my account types list in, you can see it has a more detailed classification and provides the groups I need from my ratios. So that you are aware, the lists included in your product may differ from mine. This is because they are derived from your general ledger and so will be specific to your accounting package. To build a new layout using this information, I'm going to have to create a new row set. In the Report Designer, row sets are the way that you define the account rows you want to include in your layouts when designing them using the Layout Generator. In my generator, I'm given the options to define rows based on accounts, as well as account groups, types, and categories. At a minimum, Intelligence Reporting gives you the ability to create rows based on accounts. As for the other options, these are determined by the different account classification types that are set up in your accounting package. Since I have the option to create rows based on my account types, I could replicate the items in my account types list. You could do the same based on your account classification types. However, it's possible that they haven't been set up at the right level of detail for the ratios you want to use. You can get around this by creating your rows using the Account option, and I'm going to demonstrate how this is done. Row sets are accessed from within the Layout Generator, so I'm going to start by creating a new layout. I can then add a new set, which will display the editor for it. I've put up the information that I need to enter on screen. Since I want to replicate my account types, I've listed the type headings down the left. I'll use these as my row descriptions. On the right, I have worked out the collection of accounts that correspond to each type, and will enter those for the rules. When using the Account option, you're given added flexibility in that you can define groups based on individual accounts, ranges of accounts, wildcard characters, and mathematical functions. Some examples of these can be seen in the rules I'm using, and more information on them can be found in your Intelligence Reporting help file. I'm going to start with the descriptions. Once I've completed one, I can use the Enter key on my keyboard to add and move to the next row, making adding them quick and easy. As I enter a description, you'll see the classification type field default to Account, and since I'm creating this row set at the account level, I can leave this as is. I can now add the rules for each row. As I enter the first one, you'll notice the preview immediately displays the accounts that will be included in it. You'll also notice this is after typing only a single digit. This is because with row sets, by entering a value, the software will include all accounts that begin with that value. I'm going to complete my rule. You can see it is the sum of two of my primary account segments. It means that all accounts that have a first segment of 100 or 101 will be included in the group. For the second rule, all my net receivable accounts begin with 105, so I don't need to enter anything further. If we take a look at the fourth rule, you can see it is a range that references two of my primary segments. It means that all accounts with the first segment between and including 115 and 118 will be included in the group. I'm going to carry on with the rest of the rows. The information from my row set is now complete, and I'm going to save it. I can then return to Layout Design and continue creating my layout. For layout options, I need to select the company and fiscal year I want to report on. I can then add my text columns. These are the fields that appear on the left of a layout and contain the descriptive information for the account rows. I'm going to include account and row description. For my columns, I'm going to add my closing balance amount for period 4, which is my current period. I'm also going to add the same field for the prior year. If you were designing a more comprehensive layout, then at this point, you could think about conveniently adding a larger set of fields using the Add Columns option, organizing them the way you would like by inserting spacers, making use of any predefined calculations you might want, or creating and using ones of your own with Add Calculation. There's a multitude of options. I'm now going to move on to my rows. To add rows, you need to first select a row set, and this is where I can make use of the one I just created. Before adding the individual lines to my layout, I first need to switch the sign on some of them. Let me explain this a little further. Normally, in accounting software, the transaction amounts for credit accounts are stored as negative numbers, whereas those under debit accounts are stored as positive numbers. In financial statements, however, it's commonplace to show credit amounts as positive rather than negative values, and so the sign of those accounts is usually reversed. This can be done in the layout generator by right-clicking on a row and selecting Toggle Switch Sign. I'm going to do this on all credit rows. I can now add all my rows to the layout. Like with columns, if you were designing a more detailed layout, you could look at grouping your rows using spacers or create and add custom calculations of your own. Everything you need for a standard design is right at your fingertips. My layout is now complete. At this point, if I didn't want to view it, I could save it and close the generator, but I want to show you what it looks like, so I'm going to click Generate. In this case, I don't need to save it first because generating it will do so automatically. You can see, like with the out-of-the-box layouts, that my report headings are included at the top, account descriptions and rules as per the row set I created are shown on the left, and the columns I added along with the account data are to the right. I now have a layout that shows closing amounts for my balance sheet accounts for my current period in my current year and the same period in my prior year grouped at the right level of detail for the ratios I'm going to include in my dashboard. Now would be a good time to save one's work, and to remind you, this can be done by using Save Excel Template in the Report Manager. I'm not going to do this just yet, as there's a few last things I want to point out. Although I selected the columns for my current period when I added them in the layout generator, it's actually a static value of 4 that is determining the data in each field. You can see the value for each one if I unhide the row above the column headings. And if I double-click one of the data amounts, you can see it is derived from an intelligence reporting formula which references the value for its column. This means that if I move into my next reporting period, for example, and run my report out from the Report Manager again, the layout will still show financials for period 4, and this is not what I want. In later versions of intelligence reporting, a number of dynamic current period columns are provided in the layout generator, and you can look out for them. However, in case you're on an older version, then in the upcoming video, I'm going to start out by showing you how to tweak the layout to always show the latest information. After that, I'll move on to designing the second one for my revenue, cost of sales, and gross profit chart. Another thing is that for my credit rows, positive values are shown, and this is because I switched the sign on them. If I select one of the cells, you can see a minus has been added to the formula, which is how the switching has been done. I'll touch a bit more on this in the next video as well. In this lesson, I've provided an overview of the layout generator and, with the use of row sets, shown how it offers a straightforward way of creating layouts that suit your needs. I also discussed some further details about the one I designed once it was generated. I hope that you can already see ways in which it can benefit you. I look forward to seeing you next time, where I'll pick up where I've left off. Until then, goodbye.